Hey, welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a recording that I did of my painting this morning, and I'm going to be telling you how I did it and what my process was. So, we start with I just did a quick gray wash over everything. At this point, I'm not entirely sure yet what I want to do. I have an idea for a composition and a creature, but I haven't yet figured out, where he's going to be placed, so I'm just filling everything in. I'm going to really quickly block in a sort of a concept, an early concept of the character here. And this is all just an acrylic brush, a really simple acrylic brush. I'm going to fill in a silhouette. I wanted to do something with a bunch of arms, and originally I wanted it to be like this sort of albino looking tangled mess of limbs, but then as I sketched out this composition, I thought it'd be cooler to do more of a sort of a spidery, spindly body, sort of a Spirited Away kind of character design. And then that gave me the idea of doing more of a, maybe he's crawling out of a forest. I wanted to add some mystery to it, sort of like he didn't, you're not sure where he's coming out of or where he's coming from or where he's going. And then eventually I got the idea of making the forest on fire, and I'm not entirely sure, the implication of that, but I thought it would be cool that this creature is like maybe some sort of infernal demon of some kind, and it's kind of coming out of the forest. It's sort of a immovable, unstoppable abomination of some kind. And here I'm starting to photo bash with some trees. I literally just copy and pasted the same simple little picture I had there. I just wanted to get the layout started for this painting here. I'm gonna go in and sort of complete the composition there with all the trees. I have my dude up in the top right corner, and I wanted him to kind of be the focus overall. And then as you can see, I went in with a big fuzzy brush, as I call them, and I added some sort of atmosphere there, which I will later turn into a sort of a hazy fire, sort of wildfire, I guess. And there's the same exact fuzzy brush. I'm going around and giving everything basically a dark vignette. I think that's what it's called, where the outsides are just a little bit darkened to add some focus there to the inner composition. Couple pauses. I think I'm looking at my phone here and there. I'm gonna go back in and strengthen up some of the trees. I'm not sure yet if I know I'm doing a fire here or not, or if I'm just doing this sort of mysterious forest. I wasn't entirely sure how I would go about coloring this, so I think that's why I went to the sort of wildfire alternative. This guy was kind of boring, so I'm adding in some clouds, going in with that exact same brush. I don't actually think I changed the brush outside of just the acrylic brush and the big fuzzy brush in this painting. So I go in and I paint in some clouds to give a sort of idea of this dark, smoky sky. And now here we go in for some highlights on the body. Originally I was going to have this guy be moonlit. I was gonna have he was gonna be bottom lit and also have a moon lit rim light, but I instead ended up going with the sort of the fire below him, so I just made him bottom lit completely. Plus there are clouds in the sky, so it wouldn't make much sense for him to be, moonlit when there's no moon in the sky. So I go in, and since I know he's gonna be bottom lit, I start highlighting all the bottom planes, and I give him some weird sort of humanoid anatomy, but also very alien looking as well. So it's sort of familiar, but, completely sort of mutant, mangled mess. I thought the trees, I thought the trees were a little bit too, they're a little bit too sharp, because obviously I'm photo bashing them out and so I did a quick motion blur just to make it a little bit less, you know, visually in the way. I'm trying to mess with the crop because at this point I'm not sure if he's too far off the side of the screen, so I decided to give him a little bit of headroom to the right. I ended up just taking the cropping tool and I pushed everything to the right a little bit so that he's got some more room. Otherwise it feels a little bit suffocating there if you have your character too far off to the side. I go in with my texture brushes. I lied, I do end up using other brushes besides the acrylic brush. I have my texture brushes here, the handy dandy rock texture brush, just to give some highlight to the little hillside there. Otherwise, before it was just a flat color and that was kind of boring. Adding some detail here to his hands. I think I end up fleshing those out a bit more later on. Man, there's so much anticipation for this fire that's down here, but as of now it's all black and white still, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Actually, it would have been really cool to just do, instead of having it be a wildfire, I could have just made it some weird, creepy glow. Maybe this guy's coming out of like a big portal in the ground or something. So many different ideas, different ways you can go, different ideas that you can play with this kind of stuff. Some more belly highlights. Usually I'll do the initial sort of, I'll place the highlight where I know that light will be hitting, and then I'll go back in later and add that sort of secondary, like super bright highlight. Alright, now I'm going to go in with, this guy was a little bit boring. I wanted it to look like, you know, when there's like a wildfire in the distance, you can kind of see the sky light up a bit. So here I'm going to play with some different sort of filters to see what looks right. And that, I thought that was kind of cool. It looks like it's maybe raining in the background, which I liked. I had a little field texture here, some photo bashing just to add. I think I erased most of it. I just kept the little grass texture that you can see in the very foreground corner there. I thought that looked rather nice. And here we go with the gradient map. Gradient maps, you can select basically a gradient of colors, and those colors will apply to the light levels. So you can have from dark to light. What I do here is basically a blue to an orange, and that'll make all the darks blue and all the highlights this orange color, and it makes it look like, you know, in this case it looks like the forest is on fire, which is what I was going for. I'm trying to figure out if I want to make it apply to the sky as well, because I really like the sky colors. I didn't want to change that very much. So I just applied it to the dude and the trees. So now it looks like, you know, cohesively colored at least. Just adding in some small highlights, small details. I really like how he sort of is crawling forward, this huge creepy mass of flesh. Adding those little highlights to his fingers, going back in and adding some more sort of fiery highlights to the rest of his body. You can never have too much highlights, apparently. I thought the foreground was a little distracting, so I darkened it up a bit. At least I'm trying to figure out what looks nicest. The real focal point here is going to be the guy emerging from the trees with all the fire. I'm going to go in and using, I think, color dodge or overlay, I'm going to just brighten things up a little bit. I think I decided that it didn't look as cool as I thought it would, so I undo it. I just can go in and hand paint all the highlights instead, which sometimes looks better in my opinion. It looks too fuzzy if you do a color dodge sometimes. Alright, more photo bashing. I got some trees on fire here. I'm trying to figure out where the most appropriate place is to put it. I kind of wanted it to make like the hill that he was running into was on fire as well, or like the grass was kind of burning up it, like it was spreading. because as you can see, the placement of his hands in the towards the left of the painting here, that area isn't on fire yet, so I wanted it to imply that it's spreading with his movement. Some more cloud textures. I thought at first it would be kind of cool to have like this crazy weird lightning, but then I was like, nah, that doesn't work with this composition. So I just did an overlay to darken some areas. Same with this. Actually, I think this was a lighten overlay, and this way it looks like there's, you know, smoke coming out off of this this wildfire, and then I go back up into the clouds in the sky to add those highlights, make it look like the sky's reflecting this, you know, horrible burning disaster down below, the carnage. I'm gonna grab some more of these fun little burning forest pictures. I decided that it was a little too hectic down there. This is kind of hard to see what's going on. Like, you can tell that it's burning, but there's lots of, you know, photo textures now kind of fighting each other. So I had some trees in the foreground, add a little bit more depth as well. Go back in. Now that we have this really strong, crazy cloud behind him, I went back in to re-highlight some of the areas on his body. I keep saying it's a he. I don't think that these, you know, monsters really have any sort of gender. Usually when I paint any sort of thing, I just refer to it as like a dude or a guy. Going back in with those highlights. I'm trying to make things look kind of consistent. I have this blue sort of shadow, like secondary light on his chest, and I wanted to go back through and add that everywhere. And now we're adding this really cool sort of eye thing. I don't know what that would be. It's like a little visor, a vertical visor, if you will. And I add a little bit of a sort of like a misty, you know, like sort of how car lights will illuminate mist. I kind of did a really fuzzy, quick, as if his eye is emitting a light. And then just more consistency. You can refine this, you know, as much as you want, but what we end up here's the final product, is, you know, where I decided to take it. It's just a conceptual piece. You can take this farther, obviously. I might take this one farther in the future. But yeah, hope that was insightful. I'll see you in the next video.